Carmichael Dave, Jason Ross, and the mayor, Shred.
Yes.
Missed him last week.
You did. I didn't.
You did not.
Yeah, I was here.
Yeah. Felt a little, like those old V8 commercials where they're walking sideways. They need a V8 to straighten up.
Yeah.
If I don't get my weekly dose of Finding Joy and Shredville, I was walking a little crooked last week. I'm going to be honest.
Coach should help you with that.
Coach Tim Plough joins us. Good morning, Coach.
Boys, I got to be honest, Jason, you know this, but yeah, that threw me off last week.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're through it. We're back together now, and it's all good.
Yeah, it was Thanksgiving still ended up being okay because I know Dave kind of threw the rhythm off.
Yeah, I mean, I had to recover, but I feel like, the 72 hours straight of just football on the couch got me through it. It was good.
Nice.
Coach, I knew I had to miss a show, and I thought the best show for me to miss would be one that you did not have a game that week, the following week, because you got the bye. And I felt like you didn't need a motivational story last week, so I did put some thought into it. It had nothing to do with Thanksgiving, so I do apologize. I'll be accountable.
I think the good thing is you must have known we had the bye because we were as surprised as anybody. So you must have knew ahead of time. I wish you would have just told me, and then we would have been okay.
You know what? It's one of those, don't ask type of things. Like I do have some inside sources with the committee. And, that kind of brings up, I will never ask you to comment on other coaches because that's bad form. But I want to give you a philosophical. So there's another team I have interest in that my daughter may or may not attend that school down south. And in their rivalry game, they sat out for the first quarter or first half a receiver that is probably going to the NFL in the first round and somebody else, and then came back and they ended up winning their game. How tough is it for you, and I don't know, I'm sure you've had to deal with something like that, but how tough is it for you as a coach balancing discipline and accountability with your players and also the accountability of the rest of your team trying to win ball games? And I guess what I'm asking, because I'm long-winded as always, is how tough is it to make a decision that might hurt your team on the field to keep your rules in place?
Yeah, I mean, I think the important thing, first off, is what part of accountability is in your program in the sense of, like, is it part of your foundation? Is it something that you talk about? Because you got to be consistent as a leader to say, hey, if this is important to me the first day I'm here, then it's going to be important to me on a Saturday when we have a game. It's going to be important to me in the off season. I'll give you the example I would give you is I was coaching years ago at Northern Arizona, and we had this great player. He was a receiver. He was super talented. Ended up playing in the NFL, but man, he was a tough guy to reel in. I mean, he would be late to class sometimes. He would be late to meetings and had some disciplinary things. And Coach Stoker came out to Flagstaff to basically visit and hang out with me and my wife, and he came to a couple of practices. And I drove him to the airport. When he was leaving, I was like, Coach, what do you think I should do with this guy? Like, how can I get him to, become better for us so we can win? And he says, hey, sometimes you got to cut a guy loose. And I was like, cut him? I mean, Coach, he's our best player. And he goes, no, he's your worst player.
Wow.
And then, so I've always remembered that, like, for your team to be successful, even though the players are important, if they're not accountable and they're not, part of the foundation of what your team wants to do, they'll end up being the reason you lose more than the reason you win.
Coach, last week when we talked, it was, time to get the players away, get them with family and friends and loved ones and so forth, and you as well, but also prepping for two potential opponents. Well, now we cut that in half. You now know it's Rhode Island who will be coming out your way this week. What did you see from them, and what do you have to be ready for when you play the Rams this week?
Well, I think when you're in this part of the playoffs, there's only 16 teams left. Everyone's going to be talented. Every team's really good. And that's super fun, man. As a coach, you're preparing and you're playing a team you really don't know at all. That's what the playoffs are about. That's really fun. They got a great quarterback, and they got a bunch of receivers around him that are super talented. They got a 1,000-yard running back. So their offense is going to be difficult. Anytime you got a good quarterback, skill guys around him, they're going to be able to move the ball. And then defensively, they bring a lot of pressures, but they're led by their defensive end, number 8, and he's got double-digit sacks and a bunch of tackles for loss, and he's a really good player. So I think, at this point, all the teams are good, but I've definitely seen a team that's physical, talented, and it's going to be a tremendous challenge. I actually voted on the coaches poll all year. I was one of the members of the coaches poll for FCS, so I watched a lot of these teams every weekend. On Sundays, I would get little highlights and watch through the teams, so I'm familiar with them because I ranked them, in or near the top 10 all year. So it's going to be a great game.
I wanted to also ask you this week as we wrap up Jason and I were talking, and this has been in the news, and you had your own thing a couple weeks ago where people were asking about your future. And so we have situations at high-level colleges, and what I'm talking about here without talking about it, where you've got coaches that either get fired, but they get bought out for like a gajillion dollars, or you get coaches that have many years left on their contract that leave. There's no financial penalty. They take their staff, maybe some players and all that. Do you think there's a fix to that, or is that just the way college football is now? Oh man,
we got to go to a bar and have a drink if we're going to talk about all this. I guess the quick answer I would tell you is there's just a lot of issues with the NCAA and how things are run right now. I think we all know that. Honestly, if you really want to fix it, you probably have to just blow the whole thing up and redo it. But the biggest problem is the calendar. And if you think about the NFL, right, if there's Niner fans, let's say, in this area that are listening, if you remember Kyle Shanahan, when he took the Niner job, they couldn't announce it until after the Falcon-Patriots Super Bowl.
That's right.
But they knew he was the head coach for weeks. But the way that the NFL rules are, they don't let that happen, right? So, and you can't interview guys until the second week of the playoffs. There's set rules within the calendar. And in college, there's just no rules, right? So, you got guys getting fired in the middle of the season, and then you got teams that are looking for coaches, and they can talk to coaches in week 3, week 8, week 9.
Yes.
Doesn't matter. And, as you guys know, it's been well documented that, I got people calling me during the middle of the season to try to see if you're interested in these jobs, and you're like, well, we're in the middle of the season. I don't even want to have these conversations right now. And so I think it's just a calendar issue. And I know everyone's up in arms about, Lane, but I would just say, what does everybody expect him to do, I guess would be the question. What is the answer? Because if it was 4 weeks later and he left to go to LSU, which we all would know, if you're ranking college football jobs, LSU's in the top 5 jobs.
Yeah, right.
What do you want him to do? What's the better way for him to do this that would make you happier with what he decided to do? Because if he was working as a salesman, or if he was a pilot, or if he was, any other job, and he told you, hey, I'm leaving this job for what everyone in the world says is a better job, everyone would be like, oh, good for you. But he's doing it in the middle of a football season, and they're mad at him because he left his team. Well, he didn't want to leave his team.
Yeah.
They just don't want to let him coach his team because the rules of when things take place. And so I don't know Lane personally, and he might be a terrible person. He might be a great person. I don't know. But him leaving to take a job is not his fault. It's kind of the way everything is set up. And, the coach at Tulane's leaving his team. The coach at James Madison's leaving his team. The coach at South Florida left his team. Their seasons are still going on, and no one's mad at those 3 guys.
Yeah.
And so I think it's kind of an unbalanced situation, and it's unfair for the players, which is the most important thing. And that's why they got to get it fixed. Is now you got teams that don't have their coaches, and the reason they don't have their coaches is not because the coaches are bad guys. It's because that's the way the schedule's set up, and it's not fair.
That's Coach Tim Plough weighing in on that. That's awesome. And we will be watching him, listening to him right here on Sacktown Sports, and his team take on Rhode Island 7 p.m. this weekend. Coach, you don't need any motivation. Go out there, kick ass, take names, kick ass Seabass, and we'll talk to you next week, my friend.
Guys, anyone in the area, we got a big game at 7 o'clock. We got to fill this stadium. We're on ESPN, first time ever in Shredville on ESPN. Please, if you're local, if you care about the Ags at all, if you just want to see a good football game, come out and cheer these guys on. Let's fill this stadium up, and let's try to get ourselves to the Final Eight. All right?
Love it. And we'll keep that flag burning. Thanks, all week. Thank you, Coach. Take care. That's Coach Tim Plough. We'll keep that flag burning all week. That's not what waving all week. We'll take a break. When we come back, top of the hour, 3 for Madness. Chris Paul.